The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 277. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is from Vancouver, British Columbia, and she is also the president of Corporate Champions Vancouver, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story with us. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Victoria Mui. Victoria, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Hi there, Sheena. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Victoria. Thanks for the intro. And I'm a Chinese Canadian. I immigrated to Canada with my family in 1988. So it's been a while since I've been here. And originally we moved to Toronto, and after a few years we ended up moving to the West Coast. So I've been in here for a very long time. So I consider myself a West Coaster, and it's been a good journey so far. Really like it here.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And it's funny, I moved to Canada when I was in 1989. But my dad really wanted to move to Vancouver, but we ended up in Toronto. So
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's just pretty funny. Victoria, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My favorite self-confidence quote is to stay curious and always to feed your mind and soul. I really believe in self-education, personal improvement, and that's really what it comes down to. The core of being confident is just to really equip yourself with enough knowledge, and through knowledge you can get yourself to a place where you feel a lot of power, a good position to engage with people in a more meaningful way. So for me, it's to just kind of obtain knowledge, stay curious, and to kind of constantly feed yourself.
I love it. It's a great quote. And especially too nowadays, kids go to school, they learn math and science, and nothing's wrong with that. But I think we need to also teach children how to be confident in themselves, how to have positive thinking. Because when you go in the real world, it's like you kind of have to fend for yourself, right? It's like nobody ever taught me this stuff. I had to do this on my own too, like just read books, surround myself with people, go to events. And I think if we have more and more of these things for kids, then they're more prepped for the world. And, that's just how I feel. It's just right now it's like they're so focused on just academics that they forget the other parts of life. So great quote. I really love that. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Self-confidence to me is being able to accept that failures will happen, and being able to embrace that and not let the fear hold you back. And I think that's really the first part of getting yourself to be confident. I think to some people, maybe it's just, like blocking out, and just kind of storming through, blocking out things that are in your way. But for me, it's more about being, that's a big part of me that is very realistic and practical, and part of going through life and just doing anything in life is that you're going to stumble and you're going to fall at times. And that's to be expected, and that should be embraced as lessons learned. And every time that happens, that's when you kind of level up and kind of build up your confidence to a higher level. And also not being apologetic for being good at what you do. I find that, sometimes people, in an effort to be humble, which is great, always stay humble, but they're also a little bit too reserved in, embracing that they're actually really good at something, and just kind of being it, taking it out there and owning it, and just kind of tell people, yeah, you know what, I am good at this. And I think that can kind of really build on your self-confidence and builds on who you are, and you're not afraid to kind of stand up there and kind of say, yeah, I'm, this is what I'm good at. I'd be happy to serve, I'd be able to help others, and this is, who I am.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, I like your definition. We have to realize failure is a part of life, and I know it's hard sometimes, especially when your parents feel like, or when society tells you like failure is a bad thing. If you fail, you fail in life. Not realizing failure is a part of success, actually. If you don't fail at something, then you'll never grow, you'll never build character, you'll never build that strength to keep on going. So great definition that you mentioned. And what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I was, you can say, I don't know if I can say that I was low in confidence, and more so than maybe I didn't have the right tools and technique to kind of bring out that confidence that I had in me. So it was kind of very, submerged deep down. It's in there somewhere, but I was either afraid to kind of bring it out, not really knowing how that would make me look, perhaps. In the earlier parts of my life when I was just kind of getting out there, even in school, if we kind of go back a little bit further, being back in school, I knew I was good at certain things, but, I always thought, there's probably someone better than me out there. Let's just, not get too much attention here. So in the beginning, when I started, doing work in business, I hit this epiphany where I decided that I was being too subservient. So I was kind of being in a role where I presented myself in the way where I was lower than others. It was almost like I was constantly asking and hoping and wishing for things to happen and talking to people in the way that I didn't even know at the time, but talking to the people in the way where I was leading people to perceive me as being lower than them. Very low self-confidence kind of a vibe to people. Even though maybe I didn't necessarily felt that way, I carried myself out that way. And, and kind of being out there, it's a matter of a perception a lot of times. So when I kind of realized that that's what I was doing, I decided to really examine the way I talked. I looked at the language and the verbiages that I used. When I would write emails, I would kind of reread it a few times and kind of go, if I was the person on the other end reading this, how would they perceive me? So I took a lot of time, do a lot of introspection, and, and learned to realize that, people want to work with others that are, talented and smart and kind of confident. And I wanted to make sure that I carry that image and I genuinely live that image myself as well. So kind of once I hit that point of epiphany, I spent quite a bit of time getting myself up to speed and doing a whole 180. That took, I would say initially a few months to just really sit down and kind of go, okay, this is the person I like to be. And then just slowly through time, slowly transitioning myself into becoming that ideal self where I'm really happy about how I carry myself, in public, how I carry myself with, my friends and family in general. And slowly people were telling me that, hey, I kind of really feel like, yeah, you've changed, Victoria. I feel like, this aura around you, you're happier, you're more confident, and you really seem like you know what you're doing. And when I was starting to hear that a little bit more, I felt like, okay, well, it looks like I'm doing the right thing, and just kind of kept going and didn't look back from that point on.
Thanks for sharing that. And, I think it's a lot of us, especially, Asian women, we feel like we're not worthy, right? We feel like we always need to seek approval from others or seek permission, not realizing that we just got to go out there and do it and, say, screw it. Forget what other people say, and like you said, you had an epiphany and you just decided to change. And because of that epiphany, what's your life been like now?
It's been great. And, like you said, being, a part of, Asian descent within Asian culture, your parents have very high expectations of you. They basically raise you in the way that, they want you to meet their goals and their dreams as well that they have set for you. So for me to kind of go out there and run my own business kind of broke their expectations a little bit in terms of, I wouldn't say break their dreams, but it kind of didn't really follow the path that they had set up. They thought, that I was going to follow. They envisioned me working at a bank, doing a 9-to-5 job, that very cookie cutter lifestyle, very stable, very predictable. And I just didn't fit into any of that. And for me to kind of break that path and go out on my own, I really had to prove myself to them and to maintain that relationship as well, because it does, compromise things at times, when you're talking to them, the relationship gets shaken a little bit, especially in the beginning when, you don't quite have results yet. You're just getting out there and hustling for yourself. I think it's a lot of self-belief. You just have to maintain that loving relationship while kind of, going on your own and just believing in yourself as well. So it is tough. But, once I hit the point where, I was starting to see some results and have some accomplishments, and then to have my parents and family to kind of be able to see and also be happy for me as well. That moment was pretty amazing to kind of make me feel like, it was worth it. It was worth it to kind of go out there and, do something for myself that I like, live the life that I want without compromising on my relationships.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's great that you're able to go out there and do what you do versus what your parents want you to do, because there's so many people out there who still feel trapped, right? Because they're just doing what they've been told all their life, not realizing that that's really hurting them instead of helping them. So thanks for sharing that. And to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
The one thing I would say to people who are, trying to live their dreams and trying to go out there right now is to not worry so much about what other people think of you. I think especially being women, we're kind of always concerned with how we're perceived. And I found myself a lot of times thinking that way too. And I mean, a lot of it is legitimate. You do have to kind of think about, okay, well, how you're perceived to the public, how you're perceived in, within the network that you want to be in. But at the same time, especially to the ones that love you the most, you kind of have to decide whether, that's something that might hold you back or it's something that would kind of push you forward. As for me, when I think about, perception that I think people might have of me, I want to, have this very positive and, confident and, genuine kind of a perception of myself when I kind of go out there. So, and that's something I work towards too. And I think that's a positive. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe I should do this just for the sake of fitting into someone else's mold. And I would kind of, reconsider and think about, okay, is this how you really want to live your life? Is this the person you want to be? Or is that just how you want to be perceived as? So I would say, really map out, what kind of person you want to be, kind of life you want to lead, and kind of structure the perception of yourself, the branding of yourself, and kind of make all that work without feeling like you don't belong, without feeling like it's not the right thing to do or people might not like you. Because when you put yourself out there, there's going to be a percentage of people that don't necessarily agree with things you do or may not even like you in general. And that's just the reality of things, right? When you look at, very successful and famous people, they're not loved by all. They will have their people, their haters, so to speak, that just, like to, these haters, they just like to tear other people down just to make themselves feel better. So don't worry so much about what other people think of you. As long as you know you're doing the right thing, you're on the right track, just kind of keep pushing forward.
Thanks for sharing that tip. And, I totally agree with you. When you stop caring about what other people think of you, that's when you can just go out there and do whatever, and not have to apologize for anything. So great tip. And if our listeners wanted to connect with you or get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, definitely feel free to add me on Facebook or send me an email. Maybe I can share that with you in a link. And yeah, feel free to connect with me further. I'd love to chat more about, my journey, my experiences. And, we can kind of sit down and have a chat and talk about life in general.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Victoria, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Victoria's name. Her show notes will pop up, along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Victoria for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheena.
You're welcome, and it was an honor having you on the show. So listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com to check out cool resources, blog articles, show recaps, and so much more. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.